Now, when you say the word stupid,
I leave that to James to define. I try to.
Well, I thought you meant I'll leave that for James to say. Which was, well, I'm pretty good at that.
You know, define, whatever. However you want.
Define example.
Yeah. But we do want to welcome you back to City Hall. We're glad to have people here.
yeah, it's nice.
Good to be here.
It's nice to have a space where we can actually have, you know, meetings and such.
A nice space.
A nice space, yep. Old City Hall did not provide for that, so.
You gotta check and make sure there's no one else.
Yeah, it's a little tricky getting back here.
Yeah. Once we wrap up, James, or he may send it out to you. So there is I think it's a 5-digit code for this door. And you guys will all have access to that, and it's good for 30 minutes before your meeting and then up to, I think, an hour and a half after your start time. So if somebody came in late or whatever, they'd still be able to come through. But it's specific to your board and commission and specific to the time in which you're actually scheduled to meet. So you can't just wander in here on any given day and use your code, but it'll work for your meeting schedule. So
Have family birthday parties.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you can schedule it in that very
Thanks for joining us. I'm assuming Matt?
Oh no, I'm Kyle.
No, Kyle.
I'm the new long-range planner with the city, so I'm happy to be here.
Welcome.
If we wanna maybe go around the room and recognize.
Who's here? Well, yeah, I guess go around the room and we're still starting with Kyle, the new long-range planner.
Yeah, I don't really have too much else to add, so this is my first time meeting with the Public Art Board, and I'm definitely very excited to be here. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
I'm Rod. I'm on the Public Board. I don't know what to say. I've been on for 3 years. Oh my word! Wow. Yeah.
two of which have practically been virtual. So
I know. It's really it's so great to see real live people in real life.
Thank you, Chris Berry, chair of the art board. I've been on for a little over a year and a half now. Most of that virtual, so good to be again in person with people.
James Walden, planning director, not a member of the board.
I guess it would be me. Ricky Gully, I've been on the board since January of this year, and since I've been here, I've been able to witness the whimsical toad being installed. So,
I'm Joanna Nichols, art board for some time. 2006 maybe? I don't know. Yeah, I think it's been 2000 since 2006.
The world didn't exist before 2018.
Yeah.
2019.
No, it can't be that long. Anywho.
I'm Aaron Knight. I'm the Chief Information Officer and representing the Office of the Mayor.
Welcome, welcome. I don't know that we have minutes sent out from the May meeting.
We do not.
do not.
Yeah, so we will have to, for our next meeting, I guess we probably need to have Kyle, do you mind taking
Yeah, I
notes
think that's,
for minutes?
yeah.
And just note the members present and any votes that we take
Okay.
in discussion.
And we can amend that list for you if you didn't catch everybody on the first go around.
Yeah, could I get the names one more time, please?
Rod Miller.
Rod Miller.
Peyton, Christenberry.
Okay.
Ricky Gully, Rickey, Gulley.
Alright.
Joy Dynamics.
Alright.
And then you're recording, so you do need to go back.
We can send you a YouTube link.
Perfect. Well, thank you for coming back. James and I worked on this agenda and sort of truncated it to things that are coming up as far as projects go, and then the big sort of discussion point of the day, of course, will be some of the master plan things that are going forward. As far as things that are coming up on our radar, the Underground Art Walk is progressing well. They are set to finish on August 15th. And from their side, they have a proposed launch day of August 22nd. That's a Sunday, around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Does that sound amenable to everyone here? Is there some obvious landmines / other things going on that we don't know about?
I did want to mention that, brought this up to the mayor, and he would very much like to participate, and I think the preference would be to do it during a weekday. So I know Sunday's kind of the first day after they're finished up, but if we could slide it into the following week or shortly, what day is the 15th that they're actually set to be done?
It's the Sunday before.
Okay, so there's a week in between.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and obviously we want to give them a little lead time just in case, it gets delayed or whatever, but I think a weekday would be better. We just did, and Ricky was there, the dedication for the Joe White, the overpass, and we set up tent, had refreshments, and Mayor said a few words. Peyton would probably say a few words. We'd present, bring up Jessica or one of the artists to kind of talk about the work, and but I think it would add a little to it to have the mayor there and make it an official kind of city function. So that was just kind of the discussion from his office.
Yeah. Is that a 2 to 3 p.m. time?
I think so.
In the early afternoon sound about right?
Yeah, I think what the Joe White one was. You remember, Ricky?
That was 10 a.m.
So that was morning. Okay.
It's hot.
Yeah. I'm afraid it's gonna be hot no matter. And 6:30 a.m. would probably be the best time to avoid heat.
Let's say heat is consideration.
I think so. I think what we should probably do is just zero in on what day we're looking at, and then we can check his calendar and everybody's and work on the time. But I think that would be fine. I don't see any landmines with time. Do you, James? Okay.
And I mean, we could do it if we did it the 18th. That's the day of our next meeting.
Fancy.
That makes sense. That is logical. I like that. So, and I do not see anything on his calendar that afternoon. Now that's subject to me confirming that, but I think that day in the afternoon looks fine if that's what we want to do.
Yeah. Then I'll get with that contingent and see if we can coordinate with that with Jessica and see if we can get them to, if that will work as far as proximity, and especially moving it just to a weekday in general, and then we can kind of work outwards from there.
Is this something where we need? Obviously, we would need our social media. Bobby there to handle that. Is there other printing needs that we're going to have related to that, or?
We were going to see if we could get, they want to send out the press releases.
Yeah.
Or a press release about it.
Yeah.
And the more official that could be, the better.
Yeah, I think we can draft up something, get Bobby to send it out for hopefully that Sunday before, to run that Sunday before, and then certainly he'll do the social media piece of it as well. So, and like I said, we'll set up a tent. I think we maybe have 2 that have the seal on it, a table with some water and cookies, and we'll have the microphone and podium and all that stuff out there. So we'll take care of all that from our end.
In the interim, we could probably draft up agenda on similar. We had
Yeah, some different folks giving remarks. So my gut without talking to anybody else would be that the mayor would probably just give a welcome. You would probably speak on behalf of the art board, and then one of the artists or Jessica or whoever would kind of speak to the actual project itself, and then we would kind of wrap up. And I don't envision cutting a ribbon, I guess, but I don't know, maybe it's kind of a different animal. I don't really know what you can't really unveil it. You can't really. I don't know what the official action is there, but
probably invite people to like walk through and we stop from one side or whatever.
Yeah.
They from their side were also going to host many of the artists there as possible. So from their side, also looking at scheduling, we want to have as many artists there to stand by their work, answer questions, talk about what inspired it, who they are. Give them a chance to shine as well.
Okay.
They're going to speak with Preston Palmer, who I'm assuming is a local musician.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you for those more familiar. To see if we can, if they can arrange some live music, acoustic during the event. Not only give some background, but also if you're in the park nearby and you're hearing music, you're gonna wander over. Finally, didn't know if this is something we'd be able to pull together, but I think it would be a great idea. This is from Ginny Strange, board member in absentia. Couldn't make it to the meeting today, but these are some of her notes. She's been working most closely with that group. Wondered if we could present, so there are 10 artists that are going to be spotlighted in the tunnel, and then Jessica Jones has done the outside mural to draw interest in. Didn't know if we could do maybe a certificate of appreciation on behalf of the city signed by the mayor to each one.
Yeah, I don't see that being an issue.
Okay. So for that, I guess we just need artist name to y'all and maybe name of work.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yep.
I don't know if we had. I don't know if we had names for all of them. Some of them were.
Oh.
Some of them had names. Some of them I don't know that. Not.
Surely someone knows who they are, though, right?
We can reach out to we'll see if we can get them.
In appreciation of blank for blank.
Yeah. Do it yourself.
And they each not get a check from the city.
Right. That was my.
They are getting a check from Jessica, so the grant is to Jessica.
That's right, and then she distributes.
No, we have their names. It's just that I'm not sure that each artist has their name.
Each
Yeah,
artist.
Yeah. In our process, there was more. Yes.
I mean, we all thought so. We had the utmost faith in you.
Well, you can do untitled.
Yeah, untitled word.
For untitled
okay.
mural.
See,
Yeah.
this is why we keep you.
Challenging.
Awesome. Anything else that would be helpful with that for drumming up, or I didn't know how the internal process works in the city. I know, like, when we have stuff printed at our org, there's print deadlines and everything else that we've got to meet. And
yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything we're commercially printing, so I mean, anything we're doing in-house. So I think it should be a pretty quick turnaround, especially if he's got the names. We can put something together. I'm not aware of a standard certificate of appreciation that we have, so we may have to invent one, but I'm sure that won't be a big deal. So we'll get crafty.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of other times I've had to do certificates. I mean, print shop a towel out of blanks, and you just run it through the printer, but it looks, it's fancy.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, we'll make it look. Make it look good.
yeah, awesome. Well then, James, do you want to follow up with her to get the names and everything for that to connect to?
Yeah. Basically, for the folks that don't have their projects named, I'll follow up with her to get them. See if they want to name it.
If they feel strongly enough about their piece to name it. Cool, awesome. Anybody else have any thoughts about the unveiling or things we'd like to see there outside of remarks, live acoustic music, appreciation of the artists?
I think
Nice.
while we're there, we need to be sure to get pictures of the artist with the artwork, our website, and all that other good stuff.
And that'll be Bobby's schedule.
Are they painting right now? They're painting right now.
As far as I know, it's ongoing,
Yeah.
rotating process for whatever the artist
Wish
can
we
do.
could get some action shots.
It's all finished. My wife just walked through it 2 days ago.
Okay.
She saw on the south side. She said, "The big letters stressed. Is that part of it?" I don't think so. I guess the part that hasn't been touched yet, right? Are we gonna get one on the south side? Like the facade before you go into tunnel? Like there's the one on the north side. Is that north? I guess that's north, isn't it?
On the external,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not that I'm aware of.
Oh, so maybe, okay, so maybe not.
Yeah, that's a future one.
There you go. See,
It
we'll
could
see
be-
round
Yeah,
two.
we
Yeah.
do
It
some
could be
every
voluntary
year.
art. That's the beauty of this project, is that this is in response to voluntary art that's been made, and I think formalizing it, and so.
Well, it's like the proposal to have a normal person compete at the Olympics, right? We'll have the voluntary art on the outside, and then we'll have the commissioner on the inside.
Did we say 2 or 3? I know we said 2 or 3. Did we decide where we want to be time-wise?
No, 2 or 3 was what was suggested for August 22nd. So we may get back, who knows what if we try to move it up. Because I don't know what it went into the suggestion of that day. If it was artist availability, if they were just like, it's a week out, it'll all be dry and good to go. So need to do a little more fact finding.
I'll do this. I'm gonna tentatively put 3 o'clock on the mayor's schedule, and that way it's a little later in the day. Your normal board meeting would be 4. It'll be hotter, but at least we'll put a placeholder there, and then if we figure out something, I'm texting Alex, so if we figure out something needs to slide, we can do that.
Yeah. Well, and knowing we're penciled in might also help make that a little bit more of an apparent date too.
Are we posting anything ahead of time to get people there and all that? Who's doing that?
That'll be Bobby.
And we'll do have some social media requests towards the end of the meeting, but that will be a big one. With Jenny also putting together the content calendar and then
Yes.
Bobby giving us some organic stuff too, which has been nice. Got a lot of
Yes.
engagement with that, not to move too far ahead in the agenda. But yeah. All right, if everybody feels comfortable with the underground art walk, I don't think there's anything in there that we need to super vote on other than we'll find a time. 18th sounds good. Cool. Turn it over to James and Kyle for the public art master plan.
So as you all know, the contract for the public art master plan was approved by council, and so we've gotten that through. We have had 2 initial setup calls with Designing Local. So the folks we're working with are Amanda Golden and Joshua Lapp. They are out of Columbus, Ohio, working on that. Some of the things that we're working on, and I'll let Kyle fill in details where I'm missing. Well, you want to go ahead and?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, so I met with Bobby, I guess it was about a week and a half ago, just about getting some pictures for the art that's currently in Conway, and he said he has about 13,000 photos. Yeah, he says he has photos of everything. He said he can take more from different angles too, so he said he's gonna check, see what he has, and then get back with me on that. And then I know Matt has been working on putting together a spreadsheet that is gonna have all the information for different pieces that are in the city right now. And I think that's kind of still in the works. I don't think it's finished yet, but I know once it is finished, we're going to send it off to Amanda. And she actually created a Google Drive for us to put everything in. And I think she also already added the text for the website. So that's in there, and then we'll be putting the photos in once Bobby gets back with me on that.
So that'll be a project-based website for this specific project that maybe we'll see might evolve into something, but will be specific for this project that we can use to engage the public. One of the big things I think is what I have gathered in dealing there. really going to talk to a lot of people. So that's what we need to be thinking about. Sorry.
I mean, that was pretty much what I had. So yeah, I guess I'll get up more with Matt and see how that's coming along with the spreadsheet. I know I checked it a couple days ago and he had put some stuff in there, and I think he said he was still waiting on some information. And
I can update you on that.
Yeah,
because we're still compiling.
All right, then.
On the public art board Google Drive, we do have the beginnings of a spreadsheet that looks exactly like his, where we can put some info in. Just kind of pursue it. When do we think is a good deadline for that?
On the list. That's what I was shrinking away. Yes, soonish, in the next week or two.
Okay, and I'll have
Yell at me if it's.
Kyle will be coordinating with you. One of the other things that we realized in looking at this is that pretty quickly, when you're looking at a project like this, it's not necessarily just about the public art. There's also private public art.
Yes.
And so, which is ironic, but and so we will want to inventory. We'll be working on inventorying that as well. So, for instance, our new world-class mural at the block plant. Some of Jessica's work on some of the murals that she's done. Steve Strange's mural on Soldier Building and everything. So,
I don't think that.
Yes. Well, I'm just saying all of the art in town.
Well, it just struck me. I mean, did we also include work that's in Hendrickson UCA? It's open.
If it's publicly open, yeah. If you can get us lists of things that are open on campus outside, that would be
let me see what's there.
Beneficial as well. So, but I mean, those are all examples.
Yeah.
Do y'all want me to go real quick over some of the scope of work? I want to, as I told other people, I was giving a presentation of the Rotary the other day. I said, I'm an endless fount of planning, and so I don't want to overload anyone, but I will give you as much as you want.
Before we move into that, I just had two questions related to the list and the photos. Is there a way to? I mean, I guess he has photos. Is there a way for us to see which ones we have? I was thinking of for like.
Great
I
to
can
put on
definitely ask
Facebook.
him again.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he said that he was just gonna look through them, but if you all would like to go and look through them with him.
I don't think it's 13. It's not 13,000. Is his.
That's his collection of everything, I think. Yeah. So
Right.
I don't think they're all of public art.
Well, that's a shame.
Yeah, he said that he did say he has a lot of public art from different angles at different times of day and stuff like that.
Yeah. In the interest of cataloging what we have and resources we have and how to talk about it, it seems circuitous to be like, Bobby, show us the photos you have so that we can look at them and then tell you which photos to put on social media. But if he wants help looking through that, I mean, I think it'd be great to be able to have us pick some stuff out and say, oh, that's a good angle of an art piece that probably no one's thought about in a long time.
I'm wondering if we can drop them onto our Google Drive somewhere. That way, just Jenny's doing posts and stuff like that.
Yeah, you just plug it that way. She could direct link to your photo. Is that something we can circle back around with you, Kyle, to see?
Oh yeah, sure. I can definitely get up with him more about that.
So.
Cool. On the meetings with the local art local
Design local.
No, there's a local one there. Who's all? Do we have a committee for that master plan?
So one of the things that they suggested to us in terms of working on that is we've got a variety of ways of engagement, and so one of the things they suggested was forming a steering committee that was partially composition of some members of the public art board, broader community members, for the reason of making this a sort of a bigger, more comprehensive thing of a lot of varying perspectives. So we're working on looking at sort of names and reaching out on that currently. With that, one of the other things is as part of some of the discussion, we'll probably have a few meetings with them as a public art board and the consultant directly, because that's obviously a very important stakeholder group, right? In having those discussions, so that's one component. We're also compiling a list that I'll send out an email following this or later, hopefully tomorrow. If I don't send it out, please remind me. This has been a very big week this week, but in a lot of ways, looking for a list of external stakeholders. We're going to load them up with as many folks as possible. So if there are folks with CAFTA, if there are folks at universities, colleges, people that thought about doing art at one point, people that did a 4th grade art project, people that like art, people that have an uncle that likes art. We want to talk to them. So we want to develop a very large stakeholder list.
People like to help with the list. So if we have one, that we can all just dump information in. There's quite a few that have talked about master planning and art and everything for years, and I think they would for sure.
One of the things that they also asked us to do is pull together all of the documentation that we have. So if there is some of that existing documentation with CAFTA or some of those previous efforts, we want to pass that along. We are sending it to them as official and unofficial documents. So there are things like, for instance, Kim's downtown plan that has been a formulating document for a lot of work that's going on downtown, but it's never been sort of an official city policy document. But it is something that we want to inform the work here. And so kind of giving all that documentation to them to let them have as much flavor and color of what Conway is and what we thought about, what we looked at.
My second question from earlier is, are there financial records or anything that we can go back and double check ourselves for what the city owns as far as artworks? Anywhere accessible, or is that us?
You're talking in terms of things that we have paid for?
Yeah, so when we're trying to fill out the city-owned part of that spreadsheet, right? I was trying to think of anything that we can check on to rely on that's not just the group memory of.
We have the contracts with them.
We have the contracts with them. I know that Felicia, several of them are insured.
Nice.
So they're part of the, I don't know if it's the city's umbrella policy or liability policy.
Yeah. Theoretically, whatever covers the park should cover the artworks, because wherever they're installed is designated. Supposed to be designated with park space.
But it falls within with some of our risk management, and so be able to get some of that information and documentation. She's also.
Is there anything that's outside of this that's?
Yeah, I think with other things in her spreadsheet as well, she's got information on, I think, in a spreadsheet that also documents sort of several of those projects that have gone. So it's coordinating with Felicia on those. Like, for instance, Blue Cycle Revolution, Event Horizon, was trying to remember that project, Dust Up. So.
Yeah, because our history goes back further than Dust Up, right?
Yes, yes, it does. These are the I think some of them are these. Was that the first project we funded? Was Dust Up? Okay, well that's what.
Nope. That's
what
it.
about the children?
That was public, private, I think.
Which?
Don't give me a line. I'm pretty sure.
The bronze children that are scattered throughout downtown.
I think the Parks Department paid for this. Yeah, it was not public art. I think that. I don't know if it predated this, but I know it was an initiative that TAB did. I think the parks paid for it. So.
Before 2016, there was no funding for the public art board. 2016 was when we got funding.
More things change.
Yeah, 2015, okay.
That
was it, I'm out.
So yeah, this will be fairly comprehensive given what the board is funding. If you should have, did you not get one? James shortchanged you.
Here, I'll give you.
I don't need it. You got mine.
No, that's all of them, yeah.
Well, then, hey, we can complete the spreadsheet pretty quickly. I guess the only thing we'll need to do is you know, backtrace down, you know, who the artists are. I'm assuming some of the vendors, but not necessarily. And then maybe the actual names of the work.
We don't. Oh no, we do have calendar.
Yeah. And we got PO numbers. Sweet. So to answer your question about when, pretty soon.
Right. I think those are the actual names of the pieces, except for the G.D. Morrison one. I don't remember there was just.
That's
That
Event
was
Horizon.
Event Horizon.
Oh, that's Event Horizon.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever knew that.
Mhm.
Oh my word. That makes no sense, but okay.
And then you, yeah, I
It's
don't know
art.
where it came from.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, then we can plug those in, and then if there's any of the other stuff, you know, I'll have to take a stab at that after this meeting in the spreadsheet that's there. If you wouldn't mind going back and double checking me in a day or two.
Yeah, I think it's all in that Google Drive somewhere.
Yeah, this is helpful so that I don't have to go.
Mhm.
Oh, let's go a couple folders deep
Yeah.
into the
Or
Google
if it's
Drive.
under somebody's name and say, yeah.
Right.
They
This is a good cross-reference. Sweet. So we can have that and then have it ready for our master plan consultants. Speaking of which, will we have access to the Google Drive, or is that kind of them in the city kind of thing?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I sensed it was more just staff resources for us to drop documents directly to them.
Sweet.
Yeah, I don't know that it's really gonna have that much. It's just uploading and exchanging.
Happy to use y'all as the go-between.
That's what we're here for.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you all for the brief diversion into those two little tangents. You were going to dig into maybe a little bit of what's on their scope of work and maybe where we all as an art board plug into that.
Yes. So task one, discovery. So there are four tasks for this. The first of which is discovery. So research and document inventory of existing art and cultural assets throughout Conway. So that's one thing that we're currently working with them on, is getting that list. Also looking at Conway history. So we're making a lot of our AHPP public history data available to them, so they kind of understand identity from that perspective. You know, it says they're all arts and culture work of Conway in the last 5 years. That just so happens to be the entire body of work that we have. And the second is we'll be scheduling with them our deep dive. We've had our initial kickoff with them for intense orientation of the project before that would be one where they come to the city, and we'll kind of get with them on just basically game planning for the entirety of the project at that point. So with the project plan and detailed schedule, that's part of the thing that will go on with that orientation that goes on. Scheduling that out. They're working on the project website, as I said. They've got sort of information. We've got to approve the final text on it and everything, but it doesn't seem like it is. It's really good stuff. We just want to review the files of that. So that's task one. Task two, and those go month 1 through 3. Task two really looks at community dialogue and engagement. Obviously, we're gonna have to, with our public engagement, stay flexible.
James, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
What counts as month 1? Are they in the Discover Conway?
Yeah,
Phase right now?
we're in month 1.
Okay.
And these schedules are somewhat fluid.
It's in black and white. I'm going to have to hold them to this.
You'll absolutely 100% hold to it. I'll say that as being a former planning consultant, we're a little less rigid about when things occur and when things start we might be able
Well, we as an art board are unflexing.
to.
I added July through September-ish for
Sounds good.
task 1. All right, please do continue.
Community dialogue. So obviously, with our COVID numbers going back up, I think there was yesterday over 1,800 cases. That we're going to need to remain flexible, and the possibility of some of the things that we might have planned in person might be virtual. As it relates to sort of official meetings of the Public Art Board, we don't have an option, but when we're talking about community engagement or other things that are not subject to the state public meeting laws, we do have the ability to go virtual. And so I think beyond that, when we're talking about virtual versus in person, there I think are some distinct advantages at times going virtual over purely in person, and vice versa. That one of the things we learned through COVID is there are times where you can actually engage with people just doing it virtually. So there's I think some positives there. Essentially at the beginning, they'll be working with us to determine that optimal method and process for community engagement. Specific details for our workshops. Looking at sort of they'll work with us on the design of the marketing materials. I've looked at things that they've put together with other projects, and it's obviously, like for instance with what Jessica put together for some of the promotional materials for that. It being an art project, public art project, we obviously want even the materials to inspire. So I've looked at their material in the past. That's great.
Us in this context is the city, right? Not Public Art Board.
I'm sorry.
They will work with us.
Yes, the city staff, and obviously with working with the stakeholders, when we talk about meeting with stakeholder groups and things like that, those are points at which Public Art Board come in when we talk about the coordination for specific community engagement and developing that plan together. That would be largely staff because it's a lot of.
Just trying to keep the lines.
I understand.
You're a gray area person, so like your us could be or.
I'm very gray. City planners live in the gray at all times and never get out of the gray. As Aaron it's just that's where we live. Even in defining when we talk about whether something should happen or not. Well, is it compatible or is it not compatible? That's the answer. That's the questions that we answer. Is it? But with that stakeholder and public engagement, obviously, we'll probably be pushing out to y'all some appropriate questions with ideas that you have in terms of developing ways that you think would be optimal for us to engage, because it's obviously you all have had different experiences in working with different community groups throughout, and particularly experience with different art organizations, and so the best ways to talk to some of those people and some of the best approaches. Talking about college students or other groups, things like that. Task 3, synthesize ideas and define strategy. So developing a common vision for Conway. So those bullet points there are sort of all of the bulleted items that are included within that scope. I think one of the biggest ones, if you'll look there, opportunities throughout the city for art in the public realm as a way to improve community. So looking at that, where are the areas that they think that we should be placing public art in specific locations within public spaces, consideration given to scale, purpose, and diversity over a 20-year period. Those are important guidelines for partnerships. We know and understand that we'll talk about our funding in a little while, but getting to having the scale of public art that you see in other communities, the current funding mechanism that we have to do that is not going to accomplish what we see in other communities. So we've got to look at other alternatives. And part of that may be that we start having patrons that assist us in terms of looking at that. You know, we've explored some of those possibilities. Looking at documenting, maintaining existing and future collection. Those things that we talked about, dealing with maintenance as well. That those are important. Standards for maintenance, upkeep, and replacement. Identification of cultural opportunities for public art and education. You know, we've seen the things that I don't know if we've all seen it, but what Fayetteville is doing with cultural arts planning is really at the forefront of what you see with a lot of communities. And so I think there's opportunities for us to start implementing some of those things in what we do and approach that are based around Conway culture. Right? Helping us with our artist and artwork selection criteria process. That's an area where we definitely need help. And then beyond that, work with us on strategies for gaining community consensus for it. But again, going back, I think that the big one is specific locations for potential public art. And one of the things that they have done and others, for example, based on the identity of the community, like for instance, they worked on a project in a town that was a major pencil manufacturer. So they came up with an art project that celebrated that. You know, one way I think that we can celebrate our history that honors something that's no longer extant is, you know, we have a road named Dave Ward Drive, huge site where we've got buses that might be in an area, an area in town where we celebrate bus history. Some type of art project. Yeah. So,
I'm also particularly excited about the vision, values, and goals, definition and management, guiding principles for clear goals and actions and strategies, as well as the recommended art policies, recommended public art policies. Is the public art program the Conway Public Art Board, or is that a separate proposed project under the auspices of this?
That's us and us.
Us and us. Sweet. Good. I mean, I think that's something that, you know, we've been needing is that clear definition of how all the cog pieces fit together, what our definite vision is, what our definite movement forward is. So I'm glad to see that that's the top 4 or so bullet points. Is great.
Yeah, and one that's honestly important for me is this idea of thematic. Telling the story with the public art. Because I think there's so many opportunities for us to convey an identity for our community using this as a mechanism.
Yeah. For our illustrious board members who are present, is there anything you all see that's missing from this bullet point list, considering some of the funding comes from us and it'll largely guide the direction of the board going forward for the next 20 years?
I will still be on the board.
As the only board member who will still be here in 20 years.
Hotel California. Check out his candy.
I don't see a point. Sorry, I don't see anything, but I am just really curious. I'd love to know how their process and how they're going to do this. We're going to notice we try to draw people in to talk about this. And I don't know. I'm skeptical of the people that are going to draw and talk about this, or people who are going to be.
I bet they're used to it then.
Well, I guess so, but I mean, it's you know, the people who are going to bring in to talk about this are people to be really interested in public art, which is maybe not always the best sampling of people in the community. But I don't know.
And that was a point that they made, particularly with the steering committee, is and some of the stakeholder groups, is that they said that's why you don't necessarily, you want to have some diversity on that, because it needs to be people that might represent business interests or things within the community.
Yeah.
One of the things they said as a part of engagement is if you identify groups that you think might be opposition, that engaging them through this process could be a way to bring them on board with the whole idea in and of itself. And one of the reasons I liked their proposal in particular so much is one of the things that they said at the very beginning is, we realize that there are entities within your community that appreciate art for the sake of art, and that is a good thing, but that cannot be the end and only thing about your public art program.
Good.
Right. We've got to have it as a means of looking at this from quality of life.
It's public art. It's not art aficionado art.
Yeah.
Right. Good.
So when you send the email tomorrow to us to request stakeholder groups, how large of a pool are they willing to work with? I know you said they want to hold lots of them, but like.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there will be some level of paring down, but I think our idea is let's force them to pare it down.
Make them do that work. Well, I mean,
I think there may be ways that if we have this individual, and we say, okay, what's the common thread here? We can pull them into a focus group.
Yeah. Well, I think, obviously, folks from CAFTA, representatives from the colleges that work in the art program. I mean, all of those are like the short list of the capital A art folks. But if we could, pull some folks from the chamber, pull some businesses at large that maybe aren't in there, or other community groups that are, I don't know, the dodgeball league. They're out and about and in the parks. They're going to care what they see out there. But that list can be super long.
Yeah.
So, but if you ask me for a list of possible stakeholders, I'm going to give you a list of possible stakeholders.
Excellent.
So.
James, since that lives in the Google Drive that they sent to us, would it make sense to funnel that through Kyle and let him have those on there? Or you want to just merge documents later?
Yeah, no, send it to Kyle.
Okay. Sorry, Kyle.
Do you all have?
Create Word.
Oh, no, that's fine.
I will copy Kyle on this so you all have Kyle's email.
What if we double up? No, I don't want to double up a bunch of, I don't want to type out a bunch of names that they've already been typed out. Right? So if we're all sending it to Kyle.
Or if we send them all to Kyle and he sees 3 names, then that's an important person.
Just take time.
Just make Kyle do it all.
Yeah.
He's the new guy.
You just send it all to me and I'll sort it out.
You all need to jump on 4. Task 4?
Yeah.
And then task 4, present the outline of it. So basically, come back. They will present an outline of the plan. That will be kind of a gut check point where it's like, oh, it's either this sounds great, we bless this, go ahead and finalize the plan, or what direction, where did you get this idea of this is where we want it? So that's kind of the point at which in the process that we'll be able to do that. And so we'll work with sort of our steering committee in terms of that. And then beyond that, we'll do sort of a big community presentation of the draft master plan. Obviously, we'll want to bring one in before that and everything to make sure we're all on the same page with sort of the direction of that and all of those things, particularly with that outline. And then beyond that, essentially what we'll be doing is get it passed through y'all, get it passed through the planning commission, get it passed through the city council, and then just promote the heck out of it. And so that's one of the things that we have to do is get everybody inspired around the idea of these are ideas, give us money, give us resources.
Yeah, how about that?
Give us land, give us everything.
I have a quick question on the 4.1. When it says, team will present the structure and components of the public art master plan, including design concepts and format. I don't know what that means. Design concepts of work or for the plan? Do you know what I mean? that, I don't know how, I guess I don't know how specific that is.
I think what that is referring to is in, for instance, I think here. Like this. So that they will likely identify one or two areas where it's like, you should really think about doing.
Okay, so they have some concepts to kind of push. So here's an idea of an example of a place that can use some work. Okay.
Yeah, and those are meant to be, I think, in a way, catalytic.
Gotcha. Good.
Which we just it started out as that. But yeah, there's a concept of like a love alley. I don't know what that is in Vermont. You know, crazy dog.
Is that because I was reading it as the design concept and format of the master plan?
Well, I think there are
of the document itself, like of the website presentation of the how do we present to the public kind of way.
I don't know.
I think initially what they're going to also be talking about are design concepts. So some of these actually.
Is that wait? Move your hand. Is that the pencil one?
Yeah.
That's fun. Yeah, good.
Nice. All right. So just like that, but buses, right?
Yeah, the bus graveyard. No, I don't. Well, I mean, there you go. That's probably Marfa now. It's California.
Of course, it's California.
I was going to say Marfa, Texas. Yeah, so ways of doing it. You know, this is cool ways of doing art that are also functional, right? Yes.
They built a river.
That's what Conway needs.
Yeah, there's sand. That's
divert the river down.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
So when they create the master plan, is that going to be a digital presence that we get to hold on to and point to for eternity, or 20 years at least?
Yeah, I mean, so the idea is obviously, I mean, when we say 20 years, what we mean, it's obviously got to be flexible, but that becomes then our work plan.
Right.
So we will identify, okay, boom, you know, the next place we need to look at is this roundabout, this intersection, you know, based around this concept. Let's go throw out a call for artists, based around our new policies, and go after it.
I think there's a lot of ways too that this will help drive, you know, sort of that multiplier effect. You've mentioned, you know, the limitations of the funding here, but if we do have some, you know, thematic notions, we have some concepts, we have some things, we can now start to either find partners that belong in that conversation that can help fund it, or we can find ways, Finley will kill me for this, but, you know, if he's building a roundabout, maybe part of the budget is to put art in, and it comes from a different funding source than public art. I mean, so this also gives us other ways to add a multiplying effect to what can be done other than the amount the board actually has.
Yeah, one of the things I think that's particularly important about having opportunities where things are visualized. Back when I was closer to the college age, I can say that like an old man. When I was starting out as a consultant, I worked with another consultant on a project, downtown master plan in Russellville. And Russellville has had some really cool things happen now. But one of the things we did was we did a concept. They did a concept drawing of Main Street. I think it's Main Street in Russellville, where the old bank was. And there was an individual that was looking to open up a restaurant in Russellville, and they said, "Huh, that's cool. That building could look like that. That's where I need to put my my place." So they rehabbed that building, the old bank building, restored the flip corner of the entrance, put in 70 billion TVs, and now there's a sports grill. In downtown Russellville, when, you know, you could go in Russellville before and shoot guns in 180 degrees and only hit buildings. So the idea of that, it's important because it helps us, which could help inspire others.
Yeah, absolutely. Any final thoughts, questions about public art master plan?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, my only thought is, that strikes me is, we're waiting for them to do this.
Yes.
So what do we do in the meantime for the next 9 months? Is it? Next 10 months?
That was kind of my
Let's do
question
some
too, because I
projects.
want to know that is a deadline for this thing to kick off.
Well, I think one of the main things that we need to work on is our diminutive affiliates.
So stuff that we've sort of had in the back burner for a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think another thing that is important, what Peyton has started with collaboration with CAPTA, is some of that capacity building that I think is very valuable in those relationships, and us continuing to be us in the, you know, which I don't know if that's the Catholic sense or which sense that is, but the public art board sort of building capacity within the community is really key. So I think those other things, it's not necessarily just project based, that I think there's a lot of important things that can be done in that respect, with helping garner support while we kind of work through this and provide check-ins and
And I think as we shepherd through both completing Tiny Toads, which is on, you know, an active thing on the docket with deadlines of its own, there are going to be some things that are going to coincide with the master plan that we'll need to do research for, we'll need to reach out to folks for, and all of that. And that's also not saying that if an opportunity comes up, you know, we don't not talk about it. You know, it's not like we have to be on hold until we have this. We have our previous modes. We have things that are evolving as far as paperwork and acquisition policy and everything else. Those are just going to crystallize as we work with the master art plan. So we have something that really comes along. But honestly, with the 10-month, I think, stretch of the plan, we should be wrapping Toads, maybe thinking about some other things that we can do with the new guidance of the master plan.
I imagine with any good plan, you'll have a pretty good sense of it. You know, 2/3 of the way through, and you can start, you know, forecasting out. Oh, here's a project that may, you know, wind up on the other end of this that we're going to start planning.
Yeah, I think that is an excellent point, actually. So going back to that example with the downtown master plan in Russellville, one of the things we knew that immediately following that is the city had just gotten money for streetscaping on Main Street. And we were like, oh, so let's program this where we have our first successful victory coming out of the plan. And so if there's something that we can identify as a low-hanging fruit immediately as a project that we need to undertake as part of that plan that we program for in that 5-month period leading up to it, so that when we get it adopted, within a month or two, we're saying, you know, here's the first thing that we're accomplishing as part of this plan. That is very powerful, very important. That's how plans get used in state law.
And selfishly, we know that the vision, values, and goals and the guiding principles of the public art program are one of the things that they're helping for outcomes for. That's also something that's largely driven by the folks in this room and the folks who are absent from this room that we hope we can bring into more meetings. But we don't have any bylaws for our group. We're kind of, you know, flying by wire here. So that's something I would love to see us try to develop and get some more structure to how we hold ourselves accountable, how we talk to each other, and then that feeds right into the work that they're doing from the outside Conway as a whole, and then we can modify that in whatever ways we need to. But we'll still have to do that groundwork to get to that point. And so all of that can kind of happen in this interim term as well, I hope, anyway. Tiny Toads?
Tiny Toad, so Kim was sick. I know, I believe she was submitting the letter of interest on that.
Yeah, the letter of interest would have gone out
July 12th.
July 12th. Thank you.
And so one of the things we've got to work on, if you want to talk about it, call for artists, we can start putting that together, I think on the basis of what we did previously with Whimsical Toad. I have in my mind, I call them Daddy Toads.
You're already thinking long-term project.
But you know, with this, so we've got to, so we're going to have need to have a good established review process with that.
Yeah.
And how we'll do that.
For the last meeting, so our timeline on that is we have an October 15th deadline to do the following things. Just get a call for artist out, select an artist, and in our last meeting we talked about putting forth a resolution to the city council from the art board to match funds up to $10,000 at the time, and looking at our side budget here, Felicia said that should be fine with the budget that we have. Then it's the same process, the council presentation of our plan, their approval of it, and then we can put the application and submit it to Downtown Partnership for that particular grant. So those are the pieces of the puzzle we need to get together before October 15th, which means sometime in the next couple of weeks before our next meeting or by our next meeting, have the call for artists out so that we give them enough time, give ourselves enough review time, and then get the resolution together.
Do we have, I don't know the specifics of the Tiny Toads. I just know things I've seen in other cities. They're not like those things that we talk about a map, right? So kids can look and hunt up the toads and do that, and then they're going to be connected to historic buildings. But are they all, have we decided, I don't know what's been decided about any of this. Have we decided, for example, that they're all the same kind of artwork? For example, are they all little tiny bronze toads? Or are we going to have some bronzes or some wood and some painted? And can they be in any medium as long as it'll fit, you know, like those specific things could be, I mean, that could make it really interesting and also make it harder for the well, but for the kids to hunt it down. No, but it might make it easier for a call for artists, because then somebody goes, oh, I don't do bronze, but oh, look, they'll do a stained glass one.
Yeah.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of leaving it open for any medium. But we have counts and we have locations, right?
Yeah. And
then they decide what they look like in the call for the artist.
Yeah. Well, we haven't talked about that specifically, have we?
We've not.
Okay.
So as part of the AHPP grant, since the start of it was being funded with the AHPP thing, we had to identify locations, and so we've got specific locations there. So this is an active tour. There's just no toads.
Right.
I was gonna say there's locations and history information, right? Did Matt put together kind of a GIS walkthrough? So we have all of the building blocks of where they'll go, which is also helpful for the call.
So, good. Exactly. I think this matters, but so for I just saw the Ford building, right? The Ford building popped up, which is great, which is perfect, and needs to be recognized. And how does that work when we go to the people who have the, I don't know which side that is.
It'll be in the right of way.
Okay.
Unless the property owner wants us to.
Right. So maybe the property owners will go, sure, put it up, break up, look at it, or else we put it in the sidewalk or something. Okay.
And you know, some of them already exist. So we've got at Rogers Plaza, we've got a daddy toad or mama toad and little toad on the back. So that'll be our toad. And we, you know, at the Halter building, we've already got daddy toad there. So.
And are they little bronzes or what are they? What do they mean that? Painted or?
He's talking about the
That's for us.
whimsical toads there, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we could
Right,
potentially use daddy toad for that purpose.
That's your daddy toad.
That's daddy.
That's everybody's daddy.
I was gonna say, have we lined ourselves into a particular medium for the remaining spots? Or is that kind of open for discussion of what we want to do with the call?
I think that would go into the call. I mean, certainly the idea that we have discussed up until this point has been small grass. I think it would be from a perspective of having gone through in Greenville, South Carolina, mice on Main. Those mice did different things, and so it could be neat. Like for instance, at Bremer Massey Hardware, if that was a little toad with a little hand,
Right.
something, something
That's
like
good.
that. Something that
Yeah,
is cute, different, and
But I think this would be great to attach to our call to artists so that they can know the history
Yeah.
and all that, and the locations and all that good stuff.
I think it'd be cool to let them pitch and say, oh,
Yeah.
for that, yeah, I want to give them a hammer, and I want to, maybe they want to make it, I mean, it could be a brick even, right? They could do something, or something that they
Yeah,
cut a
carve
brick
out
out
a
and put a
brick.
brick in, or something,
Yeah.
something small, if they want that.
well, and some of the mice were just attached on the side of the building. So you had a mouse that was sticking off the side of the building and kind of hiding, things like that. So I mean, we've got great opportunities here. We've got the one for downtown. When you look at Massey Hardware, so you can have a little hardware toad or a little down that fishes or hunts. Halter building, obviously that's professional building. So there's some things. Brown Hall Schwartz, that could be a little toad carrying groceries or something, because that's what that store was all about. Railroad Depot, with a little engineer hat. So
That'd be great. Be really cute.
I think there's a lot.
So for the purpose of the call and actually making some decisions about it, do we have any problem leaving the action of the toad up to the artist?
No, I think they should.
I think that's
they
great,
should.
and that'll be, I mean, it would be part of their, I would say their competitive, they're gonna submit a proposal, and if somebody does it, well, I'm gonna have this toad with machine gun, and we go, well.
And do we have any problem with it being bronze, recognizing that we're giving them the creative freedom to pose them in?
Bronze, I think they could be, I mean, I think it could be anything, I think. I think the bigger issue, it's hard to know. I think scale would be one, because if they're too small, they get lost. But then you don't want somebody to go, oh, well, I'll paint one on the side of this building, and because there's so many things we don't know if they're going to want on their
Whimsical toad is hard to miss.
Right.
Yeah.
He's hard to
Not
miss,
much of a
right.
scavenger hunt.
Right.
Yeah.
I think durability would probably be the other.
Durability would be,
Whatever
yeah.
materials they need to be
Yeah.
able
Needs to
to
be
be weathered and last and all that sort of stuff.
It needs to look cohesive as well. That's, like it's
Yeah.
they need to all go together. Yeah.
I mean, I likewise would love to give them the flexibility, but to my mind, to stand up to the general public and general weather.
No, it's got to be that. I'm just wondering how, if you say the call something about, we need to be durable. It needs to be appropriate to the site, but something there about. I'm trying to think some UCA student who says, oh yeah, I got this great idea. I want to make it out of this material, and then they come back to us and go, well, can you do this? I mean, can there be negotiating on that? I think that would.
Yeah, I mean, with a call for artists, we certainly. I think, anything. I mean, it could be, what if they're. I don't know that copper would be the best material, but.
Oh, it would be awesome.
It would turn
We don't
green.
even.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So
It could be some 3D copper thing that's attached
3D
to.
printer thing. Yeah. I think leaving it open is good. The call for artists from the last one, Daddy Toad, so we could use that because it had a lot of those constraints of it has to. Just modify it with the amounts of how many places, the locations, and all that.
Just a
What?
curiosity, I think about like Tulsa has the penguins throughout the city and others, but their part of that is their form is a little more prescribed, but then they're painted and decorated and whatever. I wonder if something along those lines would be possible too, where it could continue out past, just the tour later on, where it's a thing. And maybe that's where the master plan needs to come first. I'm way ahead of that, but just thinking out loud, I think about driving past pass those and you kind of go, oh yeah, I saw one of those downtown, I saw one out there, and anyway, something to think about.
I'd love to see a large toad in the middle of the field. But yeah.
Yeah, like when you're driving down.
Yeah,
That's a little creepy.
Oh.
Big
Just
toad,
wanna see- yeah.
12-foot toad. Laser eyes.
Speaking to size, do we want to put a minimum maximum size on these things? I imagine with other calls and other scavenger hunts, it's been, you know.
Yeah, I'm not.
It is called tiny toads,
Yeah.
not toads of
thinking it would
indiscriminate
probably
size.
be the size of the toad you could probably do.
I think you could put something in the letter about, you know, what the goal of this is, that it's going to be for children essentially. So we want them to be not the most obvious thing, right? That it's going to a bit of a scavenger hunt for the kids. So something that I don't know what the age group is there. You know, the 5 to 10-year-olds can find.
We want kids of all ages to.
If everyone of every age will hunt Pokemon, surely we can get them out.
I think 5 plus.
Yeah.
We need will the city loan out VR headsets?
Can you imagine having like a Pokeball to capture one of the toads?
Oh.
Being integrated, if we could have an app that.
I'm not that nerdy.
No, you're out of luck in there. Maybe no greater than a foot, a cubic foot.
Yeah. Pretty good size toad. But if it was a
Ideally
foot
smaller.
and it was up on
Yeah,
a
yeah.
building, you know,
Right.
kids looking.
Well, and that gives them the leeway too, as long as we put in there. The idea is it's a scavenger hunt. Don't make it any bigger than this. You know, don't make it any smaller than 3 by 3, maybe.
People will remember it. Yeah.
You said lasers out of their eyes. I was thinking about the Bronco in Denver at the airport. You know,
Oh,
right. Hopefully, our artist will survive. Maybe the 12-foot toad. So who needs to put together that call for artists?
I think that's something Kyle will have to work with.
Yeah, Kyle again. Our man Kyle. Do we want to review that at the next meeting and push that out, or is that too late to get serious artists and enough participation?
No, I think let's see if we meet if we don't meet it, if we have our thing in August, I think probably more than likely what we would need to do is send it out in the interim and get
Email approval.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an email approval. Obviously, can't do that.
Oh, right.
But we could
Review.
see if there are any folks that are in opposition.
So email head nods or point out issues, do an official at the hopeful launch of the Underground Art Walk. Or can we do that? No, we have to do that here. We have to come here anyway. This has to be televised for our subscribers and followers. If we were to hold any sort of votes or decision on that, it would have to be here publicized, even if we're doing the launch earlier in the day for the Underground Art Walk.
So what would we be voting on?
Well, I think on the approval of the call, I mean, if there is informal, well, I don't know, we'd have to look at the ordinance, but I think there's probably, if there's no opposition, I think we're good.
It's not a monetary decision.
We just would be
It's getting
suggesting
them out there.
edits
We're not
or
voting on
something, or-
anything.
Yeah, I mean, typically it would be, I think the point at selection, we definitely,
Yes.
we will definitely.
Well, yeah. But to get the call out in a timely manner. We've all decided what needs to go in there now. It's just quibbling over the
I mean, if y'all give us a
verbiage.
head nod and Gino said we don't see any problems with staff.
I don't see any problems. Anywhere, I don't see any problem.
But we
Leave us a
certainly-
comment if you have a problem. Or don't forget to like and subscribe. Smash that like button. Hit the bell for all of your notifications. Okay, cool. Well, then we'll do it that way. Since we have laid out the road work, give the email head nod, and then so long as it doesn't come back, someone goes, "That's worth putting out there," then we'll pull the trigger. And we will leave it open to mixed medium so long as it is durable, with the proviso that if we look at their thing and they're like, it's going to be a pile of grass and organic.
Dude, can I volunteer to work with Kyle on this? You ever written a call for artists before?
I have not.
So we have a
I'll
bunch
use my card.
on
Okay.
You had to get some help there, Carl.
we have a few on the drive as well that we did as research for a couple other ones as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
That might
It's
help.
not, it's not what.
Speaking of putting it out there, where do we typically post our call for artists?
So that would go through our kind of bid thing. We probably want to do it also that area that you mentioned.
Call for entry.
Great,
.org.
For sure.
I don't know what it costs to host one. I do know what it costs to run a whole campaign. I mean, it's not super expensive, but they do have a lot of artists out there. I just, if all we're doing is Facebook and the like, we should cast a wider
If
reach
it's
than
not
that.
more than $100,
Yeah.
we'll do it.
And if there are any other thoughts about where we can put,
What's $100? Sorry, I missed that.
posting a call on callforentry.org.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if we should pay for that. I don't know.
It wouldn't be coming from the public card.
Okay.
So,
That's all I needed. Yes, but I think last time we did Facebook and emailed it out to some of the League of Artists and those groups, and I think UCA, it was more of an email chain versus.
I'm sorry, I'm so oblivious to this, but what's where we pay for these?
Well, so like you can pay a website and they can send it out for 1,000 artists.
No, for the toad itself.
Oh, it's a matching grant of 10.
it's gonna.
Yeah, but are we?
The individual.
That is part of what the call for artists will help us determine its cost. Because then in the grant, we have to ask for the amount of money that we anticipate, which is matching.
So in the call, do we ask the artist to present
An idea of how much they intend this project.
in materials, but no stipends or above for the artists themselves? Or is that kosher and we'll factor that into the grant?
I think it would be the cost of what
Well,
it is inclusive of what the labor.
Why don't we cap it? Why don't we determine that and say,
In the past,
something,
we put
or just say $100, enter a toad for $100, or $200. I don't think for a 1 foot toad. I don't think something, but just say, hey, if you win this award, we'll give you $200, and that way we can control. Otherwise, someone's going, well, who's going to cast you gold and trust you?
Emerald eyes.
But then it's. I mean, it's a coup for an artist. You get a notch in your, yeah, I got something that's in the city that's I mean, there'd be a big thing for an artist, and $200 or whatever we decide. I don't know what it would be, but then does that help a little bit in planning if we just draw that line and say, we're not.
So
planning.
we've always put a number on all the current artists that are. That's right and wrong.
You're talking about like an award over top of.
No, that would just be it.
It's
So
just a budget
the
for it.
materials are up to them, and I'm actually gonna
Did you
have.
put the Google Drive on there?
I can get them out. I'm gonna see the sculptor in 2 days, and I'll ask him if he thinks about that. No,
Our last.
This is not good.
Try the.
I can't.
What was the other one called? The Daddy Toad?
Whimsical toad.
Whimsical. Art piece, maybe? No, that was for.
Everything related to if it was in a
Small art?
thing should be in projects. That's just a picture of whimsical toad.
I'm not sure. We can work offline.
Post on.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're picking up to carry mail out.
Nation's infrastructure at work.
impressive. He's gonna move it
Yeah.
around, just get right to the dock.
Yeah.
Good night.
Yeah, I have Class B, so.
You might need to go there to school, especially if he comes into the window.
I think you got it.
So he's looking pretty good. But yeah, on that point, I'm generally in favor of the idea that we are a city that pays artists for their work, at least fairly, if not a little bit extra.
Well, I'm going to see our sculptor in 2 days, and I could get a rough, because I'm not really sure what to think about in terms of how much. Like if someone's gonna do a cast bronze, I'm gonna tell them, look, nothing no bigger than this. What would that cost someone to do it, just for the materials? And then
What's
maybe
your
get
time,
some
labor
idea.
investment?
Should I email? I'll email you, and then you can send out. Or you would just.
And it may be more invasive because we will probably want them to handle installation.
Oh, yeah.
Could be. So we might need a little bit more.
Yeah.
That could be. Okay.
But yeah, if you don't mind,
Usually,
we're
you could
gonna-
ask just
I'll ask Andy what he thinks about that. That's
kind of all in.
installation
What
could-
would
Is there a maximum amount on the grant?
10,000 grand, 10,000.
And then we have to match. Whatever we apply for, we have to match it off.
Right.
Yeah, maximum award is $2,000.
Okay. And you need, how many totes?
About 10 toes.
I think it's pretty simple.
Okay.
$1,000 tote
Can we do anything else
or
with it?
2,000.
So it's
I mean, like,
that was the
as a part of
2,000 a
that
tote
project?
is the
Max. Yeah.
Max.
If we want to match it 10,000,
That would be.
if we did like 5 and 5,
If we said
Besides the
$1,000
totes,
a tote,
like, is there
but they
anything
have
in
to-
conjunction with totes that we can,
it would limit
Pay
anybody
for
from outside
with
of
this
the
grant.
area.
or is it
Probably.
just?
No, I think based on what we apply
I
for,
worry
so
about
if
installation.
if we had extra money.
That's a toughie.
Yeah, okay,
Especially
so we
depending
can
on what
print
they-
like
Imagine
pamphlets
that you see
for
student
the,
going, I can do that.
No, I mean
Yeah.
pamphlets.
Jackhammer.
We're
Right.
or make little books or
And I
something.
would-
Yeah, we're already.
Yeah,
I mean, we've already got
considering-
that book and that we're ready.
James.
Oh, okay.
Question about installation.
Yeah, I love the idea. I love the idea of keeping it simple and saying $1,000 a tote, you have to install it. And then I think about how many, somebody who does the cast bronze doesn't necessarily know how to jack up a bit of the sidewalk and put new concrete and make it permanent.
For that size of a toe of a cast bronze, I don't think we would need to do any foundations. Granted, they are gonna have to screw
But-
into something.
Right, it's gotta be sort of permanent so that it
Yes.
can't just be, it'd be better on a wall.
It may be best if we pull Finley in, especially if these are all going to be particularly sidewalk, right of way kind of things, and maybe ask, because didn't he put in?
We put the bolts in, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Musical toes
no
is
offense,
bolted
but
in, and that makes heavy.
I've been accused of the drill the hole and go crap. I'm a half an inch off. Y'all know, you don't necessarily
Right.
want me installing that. So I think it might be best if we pulled Finley in and asked him about that, because I'm not really hesitant about him doing it versus the artist doing it, as long as they make provision for how we.
It's
Okay.
coordinated.
Yeah.
Because that is, we will have to maintain clear zone on the sidewalks. I mean,
Lot of
there's
details.
Yeah.
some.
And it could, I'm just trying to, it could be something weird as well, if an art, I'm just brainstorming, but if an artist wants to do a stained glass window. I'm not sure how many city guys are gonna go, oh yeah, I can do a stained glass window.
That's true too. Yeah.
So, but then they could coordinate and.
Right.
So.
Or for those types of ones, talk to the business owner
Some
or
weird,
yeah.
some weird one-off thing.
Yeah.
Which is what will make it fun, but it's more complicated.
And speaking of, so we're doing a call for individual totes. Or are they going to, we're going to select an artist and they're going to design all 10 spots?
Yeah,
Yes.
one artist
One
for
artist.
all totes. And
All totes.
Oh,
Yes.
wow, I sure wasn't thinking that way.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I thought it was
Why I
an
asked?
artist,
We
yeah.
seemed to be having
Oh, God.
kind of a couple of
I got
That
conversations.
makes a little more sense now, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd make me nervous to 10 different artists.
I would prefer to have one throat to choke.
And so they all look cohesive and they all kind of.
But we don't want them too cohesive, right?
In
Because you
a
could end up with
sense.
10 of really much the same thing.
Well,
Is that what
that's where we select the, whatever they propose. And that's how,
Trifling little toads, aren't they?
You think it would be
Trouble-
hard if
trouble-
we just opened it up and then selected
So,
10?
I don't know.
That I think the trick
Well,
would be,
I think part of the issue is,
Yeah.
based on previous calls, we may not get 10. And of the 10 that we get, there may not be 10 that we want. So again, that's that's a consideration to think of as well.
Yeah. Would it be enough?
I mean, I'm in favor of the 10 just for variety's sake, and we can give more artists visibility, payment, and something to do.
We can leave it flexible in the call to where we say one or multiple artists, and based on what we get in and look at, that might be. It could be that we might, you know, a la Walton Family Foundation. I'm laughing comparing this to Walton Family.
We can dream, James.
We can dream. But that we might have a selection of, it could be multiple artists, it could be 2 to 3 artists, it could be that we get somebody who clearly has demonstrated a wide variety and capacity, and but I think let that basis come back on the quality of what is submitted and what we see.
That's good. That's really good.
I don't want to commit to 10 artists when we may not get 10 artists.
Yeah. Well, and maybe an artist looks at this and goes, "I want to design 10 toads in a series and have them," and that's what they want to do. Yeah, but if there was the option,
I like keeping it loose like that and just see what you get. Yeah, that's a good idea.
you can make a call that accomplishes that. Perfect.
One person might just razzle dazzle and go, "Yeah, that's the one."
So all in favor of proceeding in that way with a loose call under the strictures we've outlined here, which is action of the toads is up to the artist. We're going to encourage them to have different poses. Stricture on materials, just that it must be durable and is going to be in the public and largely in the right of way. No greater than 12 a cubic foot big, no smaller than 3 cubic inches. And an open call to how many toads they take on, up to all 10. Okay.
So you're entertaining a motion.
I'm entertaining a motion.
I second that motion.
I say all in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Then that's how we'll move forward. Sorry, it felt important that if we're going to have the up, down, nod on how the wording is, that we have a vote on how the direction goes. Sweet.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, we're approaching 5:30, which I know is the only question that is super relevant before we release everybody is everybody okay with this meeting time? It's a little paradoxical asking people in the room that made this meeting time if this is an okay meeting time.
What about 4 o'clock? No, that was good.
Yeah, 4 o'clock.
Yeah. I would suggest a little bit later though, because some of us still at work, don't
The other option is
Yeah.
the other option is pushing it to 5:30.
Yeah.
Trying to keep it early enough in the day that we're not intruding too much in the evening.
That should be 5:36. Normally an hour.
Normally an hour.
Yeah.
We had a lot to talk about with the master plan and everything.
5:30, 6:30 works for me on Wednesdays. Yeah.
Or we have a motion to make that our next meeting date.
I
Next time.
make that motion.
Second.
Awesome.
So you said 5:30.
5:30. Yes.
All those in favor?
I'm in favor just because I like making James stay here longer. Sorry.
That's the 18th, which is also potentially the time we'll be launching the underground art walk, but that's irrespective of coming here, because if you can't make that, at least maybe you can make the meeting. So, sweet. With that said, the other updates are not greatly important. If you do have a social media thing that you've seen related to public art, do send it my way or Jenny's way. We're a little light on social posts for this upcoming month. Again, just related to public arts or art in general, or an artist that you like, or if
Art
you
history.
or art history if you want.
Yeah.
I'm open to
You don't open that
anything.
can of worms.
But anything that we can fill in on our calendar or specific art days. And with that, I'll move to adjourn.
Cool.
Second.
Thanks. Second.
Awesome. Thank you all so much.
Hey, James,
Y'all hold on.
And give it to you.
Sure. Yep.
Oh.
See when Jared turns that light.
are you talking about the?
Yep.
Hey!
All right.